let me tell you, I wanted to share some information with those of you who are working hard to get healthier, but you may be running into some problems. And what motivated me to share this today is that this week, three of my clients, thank God I'm working with them, and I say that um, because, well, let me just tell you what happened. So, for those of you who don't understand what a hemoglobin A1C is, in short, it's the way a doctor can diagnose a person and confirm that they're type 2 diabetic, pre diabetic. Other than that, most people will do what they call a fasting glucose, where they have their own monitor, or you can set up a day where you can go into the doctor's office and they can look at what your glucose is after fasting from like 8 to 12 hours or so. Well, that number kind of gives you an idea of where you are as far as if you're pre-diabetic, if you're in normal range, or if you're full-blown diabetic. And what happens, you go into the doctor's office and they check your glucose and they check your hemoglobin A1C, and they come back and they say, hey, you're normal, you're doing good, we'll see you in 6 months, or we'll see you in a year. And a lot of people leave feeling pretty good, because maybe they have someone in their family that's diabetic. They know what it's like, and they think that, it's in my family, there's a good chance I could get it, and thank God I don't have it. Well, here's with these three clients that I have, and what you want to be aware of is that you can have perfect fasting glucose, you can have perfect hemoglobin A1C, but be insulin resistant. And it's the insulin resistance that can drive you to have high blood pressure, can drive you to have a hard or difficult time losing weight. It's the insulin resistance that may be the reason why you get these headaches. It's the insulin resistance that shows up in a lot of ways that's not good, and nobody wants that. But the problem is that very rarely, if ever, is the doctor looking at insulin resistance. They're spending all of their time and energy at looking at your fasting glucose. And this is where the problem begins. So with these clients, and why I'm happy that I'm in their life and working with them, is that when they do their lab work, I look at their lab work and we can see if they are insulin resistant, even when they have really good fasting glucose, even when their hemoglobin A1C suggests that they are in a really good, healthy place. This is very important. And it's so unfortunate that doctors aren't looking at the insulin resistance. They're not testing for fasting insulin. They're only looking at the glucose as a primary driver. However, in order for us to determine or help a person see that they're insulin resistant, we do look at other markers to include the ratios of their triglycerides to their HDL cholesterol. And with that information, we can bring clarity to the fact that yes, they are insulin resistant, and then we begin the process of reversing that insulin resistance. I hope that makes sense. See, some of you are in the process of losing weight, and you're working really, really hard, and you have no idea that it's the insulin resistance that is causing you to have such a challenging time with losing weight. And if you don't deal with that insulin resistance, you become more insulin resistant, right? So in my practice, we look at insulin resistance at three levels, right? You have low level of insulin resistant, we have medium, and then we have high. And so this lady who, one of my clients I was talking to uh, earlier, she was at a high level of insulin resistance. And we started to get some lab work done. And when she went in, exactly what I'm sharing with you guys is exactly what happened with her. She went in and all her numbers looked great. Um, And I did get her to ask for a fasting insulin test, and she did. But the doctor wasn't very familiar with reading that, which most of them aren't. And this is not a dig on doctors. I have a lot of friends who are physicians. This is not a dig. It's just that they have not caught up to this. But finally, if they do get the fasting insulin test, the test comes back, and if you've ever looked at your lab work, you can see where it'll have like the numbers, and it'll have normal range. It'll say this is high, and so they just go by that. They don't understand the insulin resistant numbers, right, as a marker, the same as they understand cholesterol and triglycerides, right, and hemoglobin A1C. So she goes in, and everything looks good. If I was not working with her, she would just assume everything is good. But fortunately, I am working with her, and we can address the situation. Well, from the time she was insulin resistant at a high level, I am happy to say that we're now at the low level. And the next step is going to be to go from no longer being insulin resistant to moving into what we call insulin sensitive. And when that happens, so many things get better in a person's life. So many. And so I guess the take home for me is I wanted to share this information with you. And, you know, I wish I could just give something away that could help people with this. I mean, we do have a practice and we do have coaches and we can help a person. But if you are in the struggle and you're wondering why you're having a really tough time losing weight, then reach out. I mean, I even have some coaches that will give you a free consultation if you want. My email is always there, so you can always email, and we'll help you as best we possibly can. Because, you know, at the end of the day, I know that most of us want to live our healthiest and happiest life. I know we do. And sometimes these things are taking place that we're just not aware of. You know, it's like today we're going to shoot a video where we talk about the microbiome and give people information about this. This is like stuff that you want to know about. Especially if you are looking to live, you know, longer, you want to live your best, healthiest, highest quality life. It does help to understand those numbers, you know, like every once in a while I'll see a commercial and they'll talk about blood pressure. They'll, you know, it'll be like a PSA and they'll say, know your numbers, know your numbers, know your numbers. And most people still don't know their numbers. But now look at it. What I just shared with you, they're not even aware of needing to look at certain numbers. So anyway, and if you don't care about anything that I'm saying, right, then be active, you know, eat a variety of foods, eat as healthy as you possibly can, as often as you can. You know, you're in the dark, but at least you're creating health by being mindful and conscious of what goes in your mouth and how active you are. The last thing I'll share with you would have been a disaster. So imagine, you know, one of these clients who has really good fasting glucose, they have perfect hemoglobin A1C, the numbers are all looking right. They have no idea that they have insulin resistance because the doctor is not looking at it. They leave feeling good. Maybe they've lost some weight doing the keto diet or paleo or some type of diet. And they would have just continued to do what they were doing. Think about that. They would have continued doing what they were doing, not even being aware that their insulin resistance is getting worse. Unbelievable. And that's why I'm happy that I'm in this person or these people's lives. So anyway, you guys, you know, look up insulin resistance, Google it, become familiar with it, understand it, because it may be you. And the good news is that you can reverse it. You can improve that part of your life. All right. So have a blessed one. And until the next one, I'm Robert Ferguson, America's Fat Loss Coach.